My name is Santosh Nagasamy. I'm the CEO of Phitons. And we have, in a nutshell, we have alternatives to single-use plastic. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm here to talk about is the concept of interconnectedness. Right? Our ancestors have known for thousands of years that the world is not ours. We do not own the earth. In fact, we are part of it. And this is a very simple concept. And this has profound importance in today's world. We tend to forget that we do not own this planet, but we are an integral part of it. And by being an integral part of it, we are connected to the whole earth itself. And that's what I want to touch upon today, and how this path of interconnectedness is sending us on a path of potential destruction and is the path for potentially saving us and helping us create a wonderful world which is sustainable and which is preserved for the future generations. So the fact that you are all here with me today is itself an extremely important and lucky thing for us, right? And we're here to discuss this topic. Let's quickly move on. India is the land that sustains. Now, this is something which is very important for us to understand here. India is a land that sustains because in the last 250 years, the amount of carbon emissions that comes out of India is just 3% of the total carbon emissions that has come out into the earth. Now, that's something for us to take extreme pride in, and for us to understand that we have actually made an incredible contribution by not doing anything, by just being ourselves. By being ourselves, by the way we live in India is itself sustainable in many ways. I remember as a young child, I used to walk up to these milk dispensers, put in the token and get milk out and carry it back in those metal containers. And we didn't have the plastic milk pouches back then. This is just a few decades, maybe 15 years ago, right? And we even less than that, even maybe about 8 to 10 years ago, we used to carry our own baskets to the supermarkets. It was not unheard of to carry our own packages, our own baskets, which were made of coir and sustainable materials. Plastic has now seeped into our system, which is a very new thing for us. Now, I'll give you some statistics why this is important. The plastics has permeated our environment in such a large way that there is now microplastics prevalent in every nook and corner of the earth. We can find microplastics in the North Pole. We can find microplastics in the Mariana Trench. There are no humans there, but there's microplastics there. How did it get there? Is an important question for us to ask. Just like how there's microplastics everywhere on the planet, you have microplastics in our own system as well. In a week, we consume one credit card size one microplastic, and that is it's very concerning for us. It's not just the microplastics which is a cause of concern. The microplastics also carry thousands of chemicals that it takes to make plastics, right? Now, that is an even more concerning factor for us because we don't know what these chemicals are doing in our system, right? What we know is that they found traces of microplastics in our blood, in our urine samples, in tissue samples, breast milk, even the fetuses now, they found traces of microplastics in it. Now, this is a very scary fact, and this is what I meant by we are intricately connected in the world, and anything we do at any part of the world causes a ripple effect that goes beyond us and permeates the entire ecosystem, right? That's why we have to be very careful. But India, again, is the land that sustains. Now, even today, India being on the precipice of development and us being championing the world today, being the fastest growing economy today, being a $4 trillion economy today, we still contribute only 7% to the global emissions, right? We are the largest population, right? We have 18% of the global population stay here, but we still contribute only 7%. Why is that? It's the question that I asked myself. And for that, I had to dig deep down and understand what makes us special, what makes this land special. I came across this line, Dharayate iti dharma. Now, the word dharma has a lot of registered meanings to it, a lot of religious connotations to it. Let's not get there. Let's treat dharma as an idea, right? Dharma is a concept which my parents have taught me growing up. It just is duty, right? It's a duty to do certain things. Now, I have thought about this a lot, and I would like to share with you my idea of what Dharma is. As a human being, we have multiple roles that we play in our lives. I have the role of being a father, a brother, a husband, a son, a friend, a mentor, a leader, a CEO, multiple roles. And every decision or every action I take in my life is determined by all of these roles that I play. And subconsciously, I take all of these roles into consideration before I actually act upon anything that I do. And now that is something which is very important. And so how dharma is linked to sustainability. Now, dharayati iti dharma. That which sustains is dharma. So anything that we do that is helping us sustain our own life is now dharma for us. But dharma is of two types. This photograph was taken when I still had hair a few months ago. And that is my now 10 months. She turned 10 months as of yesterday. I'm a new father, right? And everything I do today has, she is the centripetal force of everything that I do today in my life, right? Every action that I take, she is subconsciously there in what I decide to do. Even the fact that I wore a red tie today and not blue, which is actually my favorite color, is because she likes red. And whenever I go with red color with her, she spends more time with me, right? So that's how much she has now permeated my life and driving me to do what I do. Now that is swadharma. That is my own dharma, my own duty. But that is intricately connected to sanatana dharma, the eternal duty. We have a primary role here as a human being which belongs to this planet. That's how you and I are connected, right? We are all part of this one whole. And now the sanatana dharma is our duty as humans. What are we doing? Now, how are these two connected, right? If I don't create a better world for my daughter, then what kind of a future am I leaving behind for her, right? If I don't consider my role as a human being as primary importance, I'm actually not focusing on my swadharma as a primary importance. The way I think of it here, we have to be extremely selfish in order to be extremely selfless, right? Now, let's quickly touch upon a lesson from our past. Some of you students might not know this, but we used to use leaded petroleum in our past, leaded fuel. Now, in the early 1900s, the automobile industry was in a boom, right? And people wanted faster cars, people wanted more powerful engines. But the fuel of that time did not support this kind of development. It was leading to a condition called knocking, which created disturbances in the driving. It created harm for the engine. And of course, the automobile industry was not able to support the demands of the market. So what one very enterprising inventor did was discovered that by adding just a little bit of tetraethyl lead, TEL, the efficiency of fuel improved so much that the knocking completely disappeared and the automobile industry began to zoom again. Now, what they didn't know at that time was that just by adding this very little amount of TEL led to the increase of lead pollution in the entire world. Leaded fuel became a global norm. It permeated through all facets of society, and lead, without us knowing it, became the silent killer, the global threat. Now, what it did was extremely devastating. There were a lot of deaths in the factories itself. That is one thing. But even trace amount of lead and children being exposed to trace amount of lead, dropping of their IQ points by up to 25 points, which meant that as adults, they were extremely aggressive as individuals. So 2 or 3 generations were completely robbed of their intelligence by just this one simple invention. Of course, there is hope, because at every level, people got together. Once the scientists did their job and brought the information about lead out into the market, into the world, into journals, there were people, individual level, rejected lead petroleum. At organization level, started realizing the harm that they were doing, and they're taking their investments back and trying to look at alternatives to lead petroleum. Governments came together to ban leaded petroleum again, and United Nations together finally passed a resolution, and it took 20 years after that resolution, and we were finally free from leaded fuel in the world. And today we don't get leaded fuel. at least in the automobile sector, anywhere in the world. And that to me is a primary example of how the world can get together. While we are interconnected and we cause a lot of issues, we can also get together and get rid of them, right? It takes a lot of effort for us to do it. And we are extremely slow-moving engine for that, but it is possible. And that fills me with a lot of hope. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudha means the world, and Kutumbakam is family. It is a simple idea that the entire world is one big family. And the previous example is highlighted this particular event. So we have to understand that humans are now at the top of the food chain. We have multiple ways to look at it, but the being at top of the food chain means that we are the head of the family now. And being the head of the family comes with a lot of responsibility. The entire family is looking up to us to be the source of protection, so that we should not be the source for their own demise. Now, we have had 5 mass extinctions in the past, in the global history, the world history. Now, many scientists say that we are in the precipice of the 6th extinction, and this 6th extinction is primarily driven by human activity. The amount of emissions are growing, right? I did mention in earlier slide that India is the land that sustains, and our emissions in the last 250 years is just 3%. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that from 2016 to now, our emissions have gone up by more than 5%, right? And it's inevitable. We are a developing country. We are going to burn fuel to make progress that we need to make. We are competing with the giants of the world who don't care about this seemingly. But we have made our own commitments to the United Nations and to the other global bodies, and that we have to live by. Why do we have to live by it? India is the longest lasting civilizational nation today. I don't know if many of us appreciate what that means. Thousands of years of civilization has gone into making you and me be standing here and be part of this event. Right? Not many countries can boast of a 1,000-year-old civilization, thousands of years of civilization. And that's what we have behind us. That's a legacy that we have behind. And by virtue of having that much of legacy, and the fact that we are one of the youngest population of the world today, we have the responsibility of being the lighthouse. Being the lighthouse just to shine and to be the best version that we can be. And the world will call us the voice of the global south. It's already happening, right? The world is now looking up to India to find solutions. We brought Africa into the G20. Never been done before, but India stood forward and made that happen. And so it's all up to us to now be the lighthouse for the future generations. And India is already doing it. It is a pleasure to see so many organizations come up today and start becoming focused on sustainable activities, right? I run Phitons, so it's right there in the middle. Right, so we focus on alternatives to single-use plastic, right? But we almost partnered with almost everyone in this list. And Ecolastic is another such wonderful company to have alternatives to single-use plastic. Steer World is doing some incredible work in making manufacturing more sustainable and just revolutionizing the entire manufacturing sector and the pharmaceutical industry. I can go on and on, but I'll finish my 15-minute slot with just discussing these companies. But what I also want to show here is the outer circle is all the government-based organizations that is now helping us achieve our vision, right? I've spoken and now they're supporting all these visions. There's a lot of organizations funding sustainable ventures. I am in conversation with a few of them. There are a lot of initiatives come forward to support in terms of knowledge transfer and creating ecosystems to make these visions possible. India has a very strong commitment to net zero. To 2070, we have to be net zero. But we have very stiff intermittent targets by 2030. There's a gap. There's a gap saying that we need to do more effort for us to reach there. But I'm sure with all these innovations coming forward in the sustainability field, we are not very far away. Now, I spoke about dharayate iti dharma, which is that which sustains is dharma. There's another line which is extremely important. Dharma rakshati rakshitaha, which means the dharma protects those who protect it. Why is India working so vehemently into creating these sustainable initiatives by adhering to strict net zero norms? It's because we are creating the world which is going to progress us propel us into the next stage of development. I think the era of burning fuel and creating emissions for growth and for GDP growth is gone. We need to find new alternative ways, sustainable ways, to which is the only way we can continue this accelerated growth. Without sustainability, I think is just we are burning the candle at both ends, and soon we wouldn't have a country to be sustainable for. Now, at the end of this, I spoke right in the beginning. I spoke about how what we do matters and what we do is important. But it's not. That is just half of the sentence, right? It is important what we do going forward. That's more important. What we decide on this day, what we decide to do now, how we shape our careers into sustainable fields, that's more important. Change is coming. The movement has already started, right? It's our choice now whether we want to be part of the movement or we just want to see the movement happening in front of us. We don't want to create a stage where 20 years down the line, the future generation stands here and talks about how we didn't do our part in creating a sustainable world for them to live in. So before I end it, the question all of us will be asking is, it's a very difficult problem, right? There's so many challenges to do. Why should we have to do it? Now the answer I can provide the answer just by asking you a simple question for you to consider. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Thank you.